There is no Illuminati. It's just a joke. It's just something that crazy people talk about. There's no such thing as our side and God's side.
We always sense something off about Leonardo DiCaprio, right? The weird fixation on age, the way he never seems to settle down, that hollow stare behind his eyes, even though he has everything most men dream of. But what if those things aren't just quirks? What if they're signs? What if the most celebrated actor of his generation isn't really living his own life? What if Leonardo DiCaprio is Hollywood's greatest psychological experiment? A man whose soul was traded so long ago he can't remember what genuine human connection feels like. The whispers have been around for years. Tonight, insiders from the industry finally speak up about what happened to the boy who became the Wolf of Wall Street. Everybody makes jokes about his dating pattern. Somehow 25 is the cutoff for every woman who enters his orbit.
Some of us are against the Illuminati, and we are against the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them, and nobody likes them.
The Illuminati never talk to you? I'm laughing. I'm still laughing at them like, bro, you playing a game. Like, why y'all playing with me? Stop playing. Like, how y'all getting their money? You're like, bro, no, for real. Leonardo DiCaprio do all the initiation. I'm like, what?
I know that if your mouth is really, really big and you try to tell the truth for a living and you like to air people out, hatred is coming your way. I didn't know it was going to be this type of hatred, but you know, I'm concrete in all things. What the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is? What? Is to act like it didn't happen.
But what if this isn't vanity or fear of commitment? What if it's far more deliberate and far more disturbing? The internet turned his behavior into memes, but humor often hides uncomfortable truths. This kind of precision, it isn't preference, it's programming. When someone's love life follows such rigid, repeatable rules, you're not watching natural human behavior, you're watching the product of deep conditioning. The business side is even uglier. Modeling agencies coordinate with his team to raise their clients' market value. These aren't relationships, they're transactions. These women are essentially rented for publicity. Their careers used as currency.
The wild conspiracy theory about Leonardo DiCaprio, the one that says he only dates women under the age of 25 and when they turn 25 he's done with them. In recent news, Leo and ex-girlfriend Camilla Morone just ended their relationship after Camilla just turned 25. Once Camilla turned 25 back in June, fans across social media braced themselves for the final countdown. This is because Leonardo DiCaprio has established a pattern of never dating a woman past the age of 25, and there's evidence. No, like a literal graph. This graph shows all the women he's dated throughout his entire life so far. As you can see in the graph, a lot of the women he's dated, such as Giselle Bundchen, Blake Lively, will start dating him at a young age, and once their age peaks at 25, they end the relationship. This has been a common theme in Leo's love life since 1994 all the way to present day. Is it just a coincidence that he breaks up with all of them at 25? Or is dating somebody over the age of 25 a deal breaker for this prehistoric man?
In a system that commodifies connection. When romance becomes a contractual business deal where young women act as temporary career assets, you witness the full dehumanization that powers Hollywood. This exploitation makes more sense once you see the environment that shaped DiCaprio as a child. To understand how deep the programming runs, you have to look at the trauma that created those patterns. DiCaprio isn't simply repeating toxic behavior. He's also a victim whose formative experiences warped his sense of normal relationships. The Brian Peck link isn't coincidence. To some insiders, it reads like evidence of systematic targeting that's been whispered about for decades.
This relationship with these models are contracted out. The reason why Leo would contract out a relationship is not necessarily for his benefit, but for the model's benefit. I read rumors on Reddit that his relationships are organized by modeling agencies. Pretty much, Leo would have a relationship with this model. They would go and take photos out together in public to boost the model's rate so that she's worth more to the agency.
When a child actor grows up surrounded by convicted predators posing as mentors, the adult that emerges doesn't always act from free will. They act from conditioned responses to unprocessed wounds. DiCaprio's story may be just one blueprint among many. The entertainment world as a huge conditioning operation where vulnerable people are broken down and rebuilt to serve agendas beyond film and music.
Cycle of age. It's like just continuing, because Leo was harmed in Hollywood himself. He was a young kid working in Hollywood, and now he's grown up into a man who may potentially also harm women. Brian Peck was also close to Bryan Singer, and if you guys heard of Bryan Singer before, he's not a good guy. But I do want to play a clip of Brian and Leo together. They were behind the scenes because it looks like Brian was maybe filling in for a part for Leo to rehearse, but I just want to show you guys that Brian Brian Peck, was around Leo. And this man is a convicted felon who has preyed on, so he could have potentially preyed on Leo.
Brian is the famous artist, and we always make fun of each other and portray each other in silly, satirical ways.
Leo's job on this set for some reason is to make fun of me all day long. Leo's says he was raised in Compton. He likes to make us think that he's straight out of Compton. Mr. Pale as a dead fish belly and blonde hair is straight out of Compton. Leo, as you know, is the latest, hottest, hunkiest teen idol there is.
Yeah, muscles.
Look, speaking of hunky, huh?
Leo, what's it like to be a teen idol?
Ask her Cameron. I don't...
That footage really irks me because we know that Brian is such a creep, and if he preyed on Leo, I would be pissed because Brian Peck, for whatever reason, had way too much power in Hollywood.
Shane's testimony backs up what some have long suspected. The music business runs on spiritual dynamics many refuse to name. When someone who's worked inside those rooms calls the atmosphere demonic, that's not just metaphor. It's first-hand witness about the energy that fuels celebrity culture. The influence is no longer subtle. They barely bother to hide the spiritual warfare side of show business. When artists and insiders keep reaching for the same words to explain what they've lived through, that isn't coincidence. It's pattern recognition from people who face the same dark forces. And this spiritual rot doesn't stop at backroom staff. It reaches the top tiers of mainstream entertainment. The warning from that young insider matters because he grew up inside the machine.
I've been in rooms at the top of the top, which albums are prayed over demonically. Music is prayed over demonically. That goes out to the world, goes out to the radio stations, goes out to the public. And when you see that stuff and know that stuff, it's frightening.
What do you mean by that, Shane? Prayed over demonically?
Rituals, ceremonies to give light to the devil, to Satan. It's a satanic music industry. If you look at what the music is today, the industry is today, for all your Sam Smiths to your Dojo Cats to your Beyoncés they are so demonic, it's unbelievable. And we can't, it's in front of us. It's something that we kind of go, oh, it's just music. But it really isn't. It's absolutely taken over the world, taken over our children, and taken over everything that's coming to the times of world crisis.
When big name artists risk everything to call out the spiritual darkness they've seen, it's not a publicity move. It's conscience trumping self-preservation. The pattern becomes impossible to ignore once you look at how this corruption shows up in the industry's worst nightmares. When a superstar admits being possessed by an alter ego during performances, that isn't artistic theatrics. It's proof of spiritual practices being normalized by mainstream culture. When the planet's biggest female star speaks openly of possession, and former associates whisper about witchcraft, you're watching occult practices be mainstreamed in full view.
The devil used to play the harp in heaven. Now the devil run the music industry. Why do you think the devil run the music industry? Why do you think all the biggest music is vulgar? Why do you think you don't want to hear preaching it? This me too. I ain't even gonna lie. I can't even argue with you, man. I don't want to hear preaching to me like that either on the song. It do sound better when it is saying some vulgar. It catch your attention more. But why you think that is, man? Influence.
What older generations would have recognized as dangerous spiritual territory is now sold as empowerment and creative freedom. Grasping the spiritual darkness that suffuses entertainment is essential, but it's only the starting point. The true horror appears when you follow how that corruption turns into systematic human exploitation, and notice how veterans who've seen decades of this shit are finally ready to name the machine that profits from destroyed souls. The industry doesn't merely exploit talent. It lays claim to people outright, and nowhere is that clearer than in contracts that effectively buy slices of human lives.
You said that music, like in terms of getting paid, it's like the biggest thing in New York.
Yeah, because Atlanta it's a mind industry that I chose to be a part of. So it's like I accept that I run with it, but don't be a dominant at the same time. You gotta understand they're using me as entertainment, and this shit becomes self-destruction too. Because I ain't no entertainer. You know, some shit can't be spoke on. Why? Man, but that shit is to be continued.
Is in terms of like,
I be talking too much, man.
Those 360 deals aren't just bad deals, they're modern servitude. When labels claim percentages of everything an artist might ever create, earn, or become, you're staring at human ownership dressed up as career opportunity. They want more than your music.
Beyonce's ex-drummer of 7 years, she is seeking a restraining order against Beyonce. She's accusing her of dark magic, witchcraft, tapping into her phone bill, and basically controlling her finances. She's saying the Beyonce camp is put up a huge campaign against her, and it's overall witchcraft. She sought a restraining order in the past. It got denied, and she has another one scheduled for October 11th, but the internet is just like, what? Excuse me?
They want your soul, your relationships, even your children's futures. But the financial squeeze in music is minor compared to what goes on in Hollywood's casting culture. This is where DiCaprio's story turns deeply unsettling. Mel Gibson broke into Hollywood with Mad Max in the late 70s and watched a decade of practices most people would recoil from. When Gibson talks about what he's seen, he's not speculating, he's giving eyewitness testimony. Listen to his account. He describes the systematic compromise in the newcomers as standard procedure. The pain in his voice when he recalls watching people in those situations, that's not performance. It's the trauma of seeing human dignity eroded methodically in the name of career advancement. Gibson isn't speaking only in broad strokes about casting couch culture.
Music business plays this Jedi mind trick on you, where the whole thing's set up to be rapacious and take advantage of your weakness. If you get success and you have leverage, they'll get out of your way because you're making them a lot of money. But the minute you're not making them as much money, then they step in and they start playing these Jedi mind tricks on you. We know what to do. You know, the public's going to forget about you. I mean, I've heard all these things, like, you know, this kind of weird, like, yeah, you're in the room, but, you know, we're the arbiter of whether you can stay in the room. They do these 360 deals where it's like,
right.
If you get a perfume deal, if you,
Yeah.
like your whole world,
They own you.
We own a piece of your whole world. And fame is such a great quotient in American life now that you can see where kids would trade fame and be willing to give away like the profit part. Look no further than the deals that the record labels cut with the streaming services. They got into ownership equity deals with the streaming services. In an arrangement for them to have an equity position, they agreed to very low rates for the artist's music. But as Spotify and the other streaming services raise up in their equity position, the labels benefit. So the labels pimped out their own artist to take a greater equity position in a rising business.
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives. And he's saying, well, we can't take a chance on this because it's just simply, that's not what the kids really want. And I know, you know, and they got that attitude. And the day you get rid of that attitude and get back to, who knows, take a chance, you know, that entrepreneurial spirit where even if you don't like or understand what the record is that's coming in the door, the person who is in the executive chair may not be the final arbiter of taste of the entire population.
Industry murmurs suggest he's pointing to what happened to young actors like DiCaprio in those early formative years.
By the time DiCaprio started appearing in commercials and TV shows in the early 1990s.
Now consider the social contract that grows out of that environment. Here's the key point. Celebrities are never allowed to show rage about what was done to them. The social compact Gibson outlines isn't only about preserving an image. It's not about preserving images. It's about shielding the system that built them. The fact that DiCaprio's private life looks like a train wreck while his career keeps booming isn't random.
Watching someone go through the act of themselves is it's there's something very almost unbearable about it.
I find it. All the actresses I've spoken to, all without prompting, come up with the same thing of how detestable is the casting process. Not the old casting couch thing, just the thing of not having someone good to read with, you know, and being expected to come in and emote and look and the whole thing in front of a bunch of strangers.
It's not fair.
It's perverse.
Well, it's not fair on them either.
No.
It's asking them to do something. And you don't find out anything from it.
Nothing.
You find out nothing from it. This is the main reason why I really hate it. You can get them in there, and somebody might do just a slap-up job for that day, but that's what they've aimed at that day. You have to be able to figure out whether they're going to be any good for 3 months while you're working with them.
It's proof of the split between a carefully managed public face and the private harm the system manufactures and profits from. When someone's personal life becomes a punchline while their professional star rises, you're watching the psychological compartmentalization the industry demands to keep running. But Gibson exposes the darker mechanics at play. His claim that everyone is part of a machine built to lead you off course isn't figurative. It's the operating logic of an industry rooted in spiritual corruption. Saying the business is engineered to mislead people is him describing a deliberate spiritual battle hiding behind entertainment. That helps explain why someone like DiCaprio can accumulate every conventional marker of fulfillment and yet seem more and more detached from genuine human experience. And the machine doesn't function only through major studios and labels. Comedians and other performers who've been inside the circus describe the same spiritual atmosphere seeping into every layer of show business. Jim Breuer's claim about Hollywood cutting a deal involving DiCaprio isn't idle gossip. It's insider testimony about concrete arrangements that steer careers. When performers frame their deals this way, they aren't talking about ordinary contracts. They're talking about spiritual bargains that exchange real human authenticity for manufactured success.
He once said my problem was I didn't understand the social contract here. I now understand what that means.
Yeah.
Do you understand it?
The social contract?
Yeah.
I think I do.
Yeah. What is it for you?
The social contract. You can't get mad.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get mad. You can't let it get you, because you have to make a deal with everyone else, and it's almost unspoken that you are going to be over at some point by people who you may have done something nice for.
Mm.
And it may happen that by circumstance, or even very purposefully, that you someone over. But that shouldn't get in the way of you being able to sit down and have fun with them. Am I on the right track?
Absolutely.
You can't build a resentment about it.
Mm.
You have to still try and love those people.
Yeah.
Because that's the way they're thinking.
Because it ain't personal.
No, it's not personal. They don't really mean to hurt you.
No.
Not really. I don't quite understand. Well, I mean, there's a lot of motivations for why it happens. That's many.
I mean, money will make you do stuff as well, won't it? I mean,
Yes.
one, them, us,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, well, whoever.
If there's many millions riding on a decision, it's hard to be philosophical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very hard. Very hard to be, you you have to choose what level of integrity you're coming in at. And
Okay.
And I've often felt it. I've sat there and I have felt the knife slipped firmly in between my shoulder blades and tried to have it shoved through the other side through my heart. And I've actually felt the whole thing and I've gone, wait till next week, or I'll think, and you'll resent it for a little while, then you have to let it go. Otherwise, you'll eat yourself alive.
The lifeless vibe Breuer describes backstage isn't simple job stress. It's the lingering spiritual residue of deliberate soul trading. When someone whose job is to make people laugh calls the entertainment world spiritually dead, that's testimony to the real cost of success in an industry that profits from degrading souls. That brings us to the clearest proof: visual documentation of how the system grooms vulnerable young people.
I mean, this is a bizarre place. And it doesn't take very long, and I'm sure you've experienced this if you've stayed here for any length of time. You come in, you're fresh from the outside, you're off the boat, from the farm, still got your shoes, you're in here, people are charmed by that you've still got your shoes. They're charmed by the fresh approach you bring to it, and that's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also stroking the out of you, licking you all over. And that's kind of good for you, too.
It's great.
But it doesn't take very long before you realize, or before it gets to you. It's cascading on you all the time. You can't get away from certain attitudes, from certain modes of behavior that this town and the industry dictate. And no matter how strong you are when you come in off the farm with those convictions and a certain line of attack, no matter how strong you are going to be affected by this place.
No,
it's going to divert you from where you were going.
Sure.
You're going to be diverted. When I came over here, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And and I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because the whole place can't be like, you know, Weird Town, you know, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up.
It's a mafia. It's a big, dark mafia.
Yeah, it is.
And then what happens is, I remember one of them, it was like, the mobsters come, they're like, we understand, not mobsters like Italian.
Right.
Whatever,
You're talking
whatever
about,
gang you want to
the
call
attorneys,
it, right? And they come along like, listen, you sign this, you do some movies there, we'll put this all on the table, we got enough money to make this go away. Ping, it's gone. No one ever brings it up. No one ever brings it up with this person. By the time I started doing Saturday Night Live and Half Baked, blah, blah, and TV thing, you know, Tim Allen, all this, that's when I really saw how dark and so, it was dark. I get creeped out. I get scared to death. It was soulless.
Yeah.
Never seen anything. And I still, every time I get out there, I feel like, oh man, I don't feel life.
Our little drawings.
Show us a little drawing.
Oh, the
You
little
see,
drawings.
we draw drawings of each other. Brian is the famous artist, and we always make fun of each other and portray each other in silly, satirical ways.
Leo's job on this set for some reason is to make fun of me all day long. Leo, as you know, is the latest, hottest, hunkiest teen idol there is.
Yeah, his muscles.
Look, speaking of hunky, huh?
Leo, what's it like to be a teen idol?
Ask her Cameron. I don't. Well, I see my pictures there, and fun seeing those, and I haven't really got the full impact of it yet.
What you've seen isn't merely inappropriate. It's recorded evidence of the conditioning the industry uses to spot and shape future assets. The phrasing, the invasions of physical boundaries, the systematic undermining of instinctive protections. This is how the machine forges people like the DiCaprio image we see today. When convicted predators are placed near young talent under the guise of mentorship, you witness the deliberate dismantling of natural defenses to enable total psychological reassembly. The most chilling part is how the system sustains itself.
Some of us are against the Illuminati, and we are against the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them, and nobody likes them. End quote.
We all love Dave Chappelle.
Exactly. Dave Chappelle has never been a part of the Illuminati. They don't want him or me or people like us.
Yeah.
But now it's not necessary for us to stir up that hornet's nest unless we intend to get stung 1,000,000 times. I didn't understand that. They had to sting me 1,000,000 times. I'm still not going to join, but I respect it a little more.
It makes sure victims can't pursue justice, because speaking out would shatter the very figures the industry is built to protect. DiCaprio isn't merely a casualty. He's been repackaged into a living advertisement for the system's efficacy. His ongoing success, despite obvious private dysfunction, signals to every newcomer that submission to the machine buys career immortality, while resistance guarantees ruin. So why do people like Katt Williams risk everything to name this machine, knowing the stakes? Katt Williams isn't under any illusions about what he's up against. He knows exactly what happens when you stick your hand in the hornet's nest. He's seen it unfold to Dave Chappelle and to countless others who dared name the machine, yet he keeps fighting anyway, because somebody has to take the blows.
We don't protect the whistleblower, right? We don't honor the scout that would tell us who it is. Matter of fact, when they get him, we're gonna go, I could have told you that was gonna happen. They were telling too much.
This isn't about heroic posturing. It's spiritual warfare. When Katt talks about being stung 1,000,000 times, he's describing calculated retaliation meant to break anyone who threatens the machine's functioning. What makes Katt's testimony so compelling is that he gets why most people keep quiet, and he doesn't condemn them for it. That admission exposes the heart of the problem. Society doesn't shield truth tellers. We gorge on their revelations for entertainment, and when the blowback hits, they stand alone. That abandonment pushes most insiders to choose self-preservation over exposure. Katt lays out the intimidation system plainly. Arrest 1, pressure 5, silence the rest. That's the arithmetic of power. You don't need to destroy everyone. Just make enough public examples that the rest decide silence is survival. That's why only a handful know the full story behind cases like DiCaprio's conversion from child star to industry asset. Katt Williams made a different calculation.
That's how all cases are handled, right? So what am I saying? I'm saying if it's car theft and we're going to accuse you of having a carjacking ring, right? We're going to begin by bringing in people that we caught who were robbing cars, who said that you was the boss. They're first in line.
He decided that some truths are worth the personal toll, because letting this spiritual and psychological destruction continue unchecked is worse than any retaliation he might face. Importantly, he didn't leap in blind. He weighed the cost and chose to speak anyway. He knew exactly what airing people out would bring, and accepted it. What Katt gave us is the most thorough public expose of how the entertainment machine actually runs from someone still willing to stay in the light. The core operating rule he named explains everything. The #1 job of anyone connected to this system is to pretend it doesn't exist. That's not passive denial. It's active participation in preserving the illusion that lets systematic spiritual warfare masquerade as Katt Williams risked everything to call out Hollywood's spiritual battle.
I know that if your mouth is really, really big and you try to tell the truth for a living and you like to air people out, hatred is coming your way. I didn't know it was going to be this type of hatred, but you know, I'm concrete in all things.
DiCaprio's shift from child to controlled adult shows that the programming works. Every time we consume celebrity output without asking what it cost, we feed a soul-eating machine. Williams spoke knowing society would likely abandon him in the backlash because someone had to crack the silence. Two questions remain. If DiCaprio's troubling patterns are the legacy of childhood industry trauma, what does our ongoing consumption say about our complicity? And if truth tellers pay everything while society deserts them, how will we ever expect others to summon the courage to challenge machines that profit from broken souls? Katt Williams' willingness to stand in the fire when so many others step back also reveals the deeper mechanics of how Hollywood shields itself. For decades, the system has thrived on selective silence, rewarding obedience while publicly crucifying anyone who dares to break formation. That's why his warnings don't just resonate. They strike nerves. When he explains that retaliation isn't random but calculated, it highlights how every scandal, every fall from grace, often serves a larger purpose: to remind others what happens when you deviate. This environment forces most to bury the truth under the promise of comfort and the fear of ruin. And it's not only entertainers who feel this weight.
The #1 job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is to act like it didn't happen.
Entire teams, agencies, and corporations feed into the spiritual and psychological machinery. Once you see the moving parts, you recognize how far-reaching the conditioning goes. From contracts to casting calls, from public narratives to private manipulation. It's Katt Williams' decision to go toe-to-toe with the system when most others retreat shines a brutal light on the inner workings of Hollywood. The machine doesn't just punish rebellion, it ritualizes it. Every time a celebrity is dragged through the mud, every downfall story plastered across headlines, every sudden cancellation that seems to come out of nowhere, it isn't just random chaos. It's a demonstration, a spectacle meant to remind others of the consequences of stepping out of line. Katt has watched this cycle repeat with Dave Chappelle and countless others, and he knows firsthand that what the world sees as personal meltdowns or career sabotage are often carefully engineered acts of retaliation. That's why his testimony cuts so deeply. Because he isn't theorizing, he's describing a system that weaponizes humiliation as a way to enforce silence. In that environment, it's no wonder most insiders clamp their mouths shut, opting for survival over truth. But the real horror goes deeper. This isn't just about a few powerful people pulling strings behind the curtain. It's about a culture of complicity that seeps into every corner of the entertainment industry. Publicists, executives, agents, producers, all of them played their part in maintaining the illusion. The machine runs on selective amnesia. Pretend you didn't hear the rumors. Pretend you didn't see the paperwork. Pretend you didn't notice the young star being paraded around by people with far too much influence. And because the rewards are so tantalizing, fame, wealth, access, most people fall in line without ever questioning the cost. The silence becomes generational. The conditioning so complete that even victims themselves learn to protect the very system that destroyed them. That's what makes Katt's choice stand out. He knows exactly what the price will be. He knows what kind of hatred and retaliation is waiting, but he speaks anyway because he understands that silence is a far heavier burden than the punishment that comes.